morning.
Good morning.
Priyanta mahathya innawada?
Banku giving madam.
Sampath online banking. Pahasui lazy කාලේ ඉතුරුයි. Sampath bankuwa හෙට දින එළිය කරයි.
A very good evening to you. This is Primetime News coming to you live from the Newsfirst Center here in Colombo. I'm Sandra Ferdinando.
And I'm Noriana Fernando. Let's get started off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
UPFA grants nomination to former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Venerable Baduluwave Sobhithathere explains about the people's responsibility at the upcoming election. Future course of action on the bond issue investigation explained. Information comes to light of drug distribution centre in Matakulia targeting the youth.
In your top story today, General Secretary of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Premadasa, announced today that the UPFA has decided to hand nomination to former President Mahinda Rajapaksa to contest the upcoming August polls.
The statement issued this morning reads that this decision was taken at the meeting of the leader of the UPFA yesterday, which was presided over by President Maithripala Sirisena. Premadasa says that the nominations for the UPFA will be formulated in the coming days. The statement goes on to say that once the handing of nominations are over, the UPFA elections operations will commence with the participation of the parties in the alliance.
The United People's Freedom Alliance convened a press conference this evening at the Abhay Temple in Narayanpeta to elaborate on their election campaign.
උපරිම සමගියක් ඇති කිරීමේ ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාගේ
We will be able to bring about unity and also involve the important character and leadership of Mahinda Rajapaksa for this political battle. We also invited the progressive leftist patriotic forces among the masses to join us making this victorious statement.
අපි මේ ජයග්‍රාහී තීරණය ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරමින් අත්වැල් බැඳ ගන්නා ලෙස ආරාධනය කර සිටිනවා.
President Maithripala Sirisena also was not in favour of splitting the party. Therefore, both could reach to make a historical accord for unity. I think this is decisively important. This meeting must take place. If you are not afraid of Mahinda Rajapaksa and if you say that he is a rogue, give him the nomination. A rogue can be easily defeated. Why are they protesting not to give Mahinda Rajapaksa the nomination? The main persons involved in the fraud in the treasury bond issue is coming in the elections as a prime ministerial candidate. We invite the Sinhala, Tamil and Muslim communities to cast aside all differences.
පරණ වාද බේද පැත්තක තියන්න හිත අමනාපවීම පැත්තක තියන්න මහා මංගල රැලියක් ඇටියට අනුරාධපුරයට ළඟා වෙන්නේ 9 වෙනිදා.
On the 9th, a major rally will reach Anuradhapura. On that day, the United People's Freedom Alliance will commence the People's Election Campaign with Mahinda Rajapaksa. You will witness an unexpected connection.
එදාට ඔබ නුදුටු එකතු වීමක් දකින්නටත් පුළුවන් වෙයි.
Now, it was reported yesterday that a special meeting took place last night at the residence of UPFA General Secretary Premadasa in Udahamulla, Nogegoda.
Last night's meeting had concluded early this morning. Although the media were denied the opportunity to cover the meeting, our cameras captured the arrival of UPFA leaders and others to the Udahamulla residence. Former Minister Dilan Pereira, Mahindananda Alutgamage, Anurapriya Darshana Yapa, Basil Rajapaksa and Dinesh Gunawardena were among those seen attending this meet.
Silva.
Journalists raised questions over this meet from UPFA seniors, including Susil Premadasa this morning, when interviews for nominations under the SLFP ticket were taking place.
press release දෙනවා ඒව ඇති මේ කිසිම කෙනෙකුට කවුද
I do not get angry. I have never gotten angry in my political career so far. I am not disappointed. There is no lock on my gate. Anyone is welcome. Whenever a question is raised by a journalist, I would simply provide them an answer. Do not record it. We are here to obtain the nomination. Please ask anything from Susil Premadasa.
WDJ Senaviratna arrived at the premises after the arrival of opposition leader Newsfirst.lk De Silva.
He sometimes loses his temper. I did not take part in the meeting last night. What meeting? There was no meeting. There are occasions on which we meet, but that is not to discuss anything political. We discuss simple matters. Is it prohibited to have a meal at another person's house? We were not informed of such a meeting. The President called on a number of ministers at the Presidential Secretariat. There we extensively discussed upon how we are to face the upcoming election and the responsibilities vested with former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Moving on to another story that made it to the headlines, the convener of the National Movement for a Just Society, Venerable Madhuluwave Sobhita says that people need to take steps to ensure that corrupt persons are not re-elected to Parliament.
We do not need to make individuals emerge victorious. We need to ensure that policies are victorious and cleanse the country. We need clean politics. Do not elect persons who are not worth into Parliament. We have to pay their wages. We have to provide their facilities. In addition to that, after 5 years as an MP, they have to be given a pension too. It is sad to see some when they retire. They wasted public money and never spoke a word on behalf of us in Parliament. I wonder if they were asleep. Do not cast your ballot for the corrupt, persons with racing interests, bookkeepers, ethanol dealers and owners of taverns. We reiterate to elect suitable persons to Parliament. We urge the political parties to appoint suitable persons. Think over 1,000 times before you cast your vote. We hoped that he would retire after 2 tenures as the executive president. That is the culture that was defeated. Even before 6 months have passed, he has returned without making any apology to the people or making any confession. We urge the president and all the political parties in the alliance to not allow the culture that was rejected by the people to re-emerge once again in the country. Do not provide nominations to any corrupt person.
Still in local news, Minister Sajid Premadasa says that some individuals are engaged in various forms of acts in the current political arena.
Minister Sajid Premadasa attended the event that was organized to place the foundation stone for the new 2-story building at the Walgamulla Mahavidyalaya in Walasmulla.
Very rare acts are being showcased in the political arena at present. They attract the crowds, they get them to applaud and also prompt them to say that they want them. They get the crowds to say certain rhetorics like that this person should be given a certain title, they need to be group leaders and they want to be Prime Minister, and also say that they need to once again take over the country. But friends, while this is being carefully staged, remember that at every passing moment, thousands of people in the country are in hunger. We don't make temple trees for ourselves. We do not make presidential residences for ourselves.
Harsha De Silva, the Deputy Minister of Policy Planning and Economic Affairs, says that the time has come to develop the country in accordance with a proper methodology. He made this statement addressing a ceremony held to mark the opening of a new office in Ltte. People say that they will be enthroned to rule the country all their life, but that could not be achieved eventually. But they started evading the responsibility of shaping the country after the war. Mahinda and his 40 rogues started exploiting the country's resources and public funds. But no one has ever called me a rogue, a drug peddler or a fraudster. I entered parliament through the national list. People started questioning as to who this Harsha is. But the people know that I fulfill the responsibility while in the position. I spoke sense in parliament. I appeared on behalf of the people. That is why, rather than making my way into parliament, I have decided to contest from the Colombo district and be elected to parliament to develop the country.
Let's now take a listen to some of the views expressed in the political arena.
The responsibility of all during this election is to elect individuals who would render a service to their village and their area. Persons who will undertake tasks to build the village. I make this humble request from you all.
They say that the wind is flowing. But for others, this wind had to be created against gale winds. The people were against him. A storm is coming against the winds of Mahinda. It is better to come than getting late, but it is already late.
Our group leader is Mahinda Rajapaksa. He will be elected as the Prime Minister of the new Parliament in the future. All the stalled development projects in the area will recommence and we hope to expedite the process as well.
නැවතත් ආරම්භ කරලා කරාට වඩා වැඩි වේගින් ඉදිරියට කරන්න අපි බලාපොරොත්තු මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ
Mahinda Rajapaksa is 70 years old. In our villages, once a person reaches 70, they will engage in religious acts. I recall a song from my past.
මහින්දලා දඟලන්නේ හොරුන් රකින්න හොරා කන්නට හොරුන් රජුන් කරන්න ඒක තමයි අද එතන සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
Vijit Vijayamuni says that the father is dead and the corpse remains. This corpse emitting a bad smelling is visiting the temples and is trying to revive from where it stopped. You had the opportunity to bury this corpse for good on the 17th. The Constitutional Council, which was introduced as part of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, convened for the first time today. The meeting took place at the Speaker's official chambers in Parliament.
A communique issued by the Speaker's Media Unit noted that members of the Constitutional Council, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, Harsha De Silva, Jayasuriya Rajapaksa, WDJ Seneviratne and R. Sambandhan attended the meeting. The communique noted that the Prime Minister had expressed views on the methodology to obtain applications for the appointment of members for commission which will look into the undisrupted proceedings of the Council. General Secretary of Parliament Dhammika Dasanayake has been appointed as the Acting Secretary of the Constitutional Council.
A drug-free nation leads to a drug-free parliament. Think before you vote.
Welcome back. Still here in the island, signatures were obtained for the March 12th declaration today as well. The declaration contains 8 criteria that need to be looked into by political parties when providing nominations for candidates. Signatures were obtained for the declaration today, starting from Ratnapura.
The campaign to obtain signatures for the March 12th declaration containing 8 criteria that needs to be looked into by political parties when providing nominations for candidates reached Ambalipitia from Ratnapura. Signatures were obtained from the declaration at the Ambalipitia town.
We need to remind the party leaders that they should not provide nominations to corrupt persons to contest the parliamentary polls. During the past, we were able to witness how the people's rights were taken away and their responsibilities towards the people were not carried out by the malicious and infatuate mindsets of people who were elected to the parliament, provincial councils and the local government bodies. I wish that we will be free from roguish politics, where the desire was to amass wealth and bring about a future where justice and equality will reign supreme.
The people of Hambantota too joined with the campaign to collect 1 million signatures for the declaration.
Minister Karu Jayasuriya says that a list of persons connected to drug peddling, ethanol importation and and trade of other illegal toxicants will be obtained from the National Dangerous Drug Control Board before finalizing the nomination list of the United National Party. Now, a communique by the minister says that after nominations are finalized, if any information of this nature comes to light, those nominations will be cancelled no matter what political disadvantage the party might suffer.
Still in local news, the chairman of the Committee on Public Enterprises, or CORP, DEW Gunasekara, says that the CORP report on investigations on the central bank bond issue could not be completed as Parliament was dissolved. However, Gunasekara has requested that the President reach a decision after reviewing the report.
What was the reason for not being able to produce the report in Parliament? We did not know that Parliament would be dissolved. The Speaker told us to present it on the 7th. Everyone would know what had happened if Parliament was dissolved a week later. I would have spoken on the report in Parliament. There would be a debate on it. Then the parliamentarians will take a decision. We lost that opportunity. The 3-member committee of the Prime Minister investigated for 3 months and produced a 3-page report. I called 47 people within a month and filed a 447-page report. I make a request from all the political parties. Please include in your election manifestos to call for the COPE report. I respectfully request from President Maithripala Sirisena to obtain this report from the General Secretary of Parliament and take required measures.
The chairman of COPE expressed his sentiments about the allegations that were levelled by some politicians on the investigations conducted by the COPE.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe raised a question saying that he is ready to give evidence before the COPE and also questioned as to why he was not summoned. Before that, the Prime Minister spoke with me for hours at the chambers, but he failed to mention anything about it. I am not content that he did not tell me directly that he wants to provide evidence, nor did he mention it in Parliament. He had made a statement that he was not summoned by COPE to provide evidence at some rally. He is saying it for people who are irrelevant. He should have told it to me in the first place.
Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Arjun Mahendran, today denied claims that he was directly involved in treasury bond issue that has led to much controversy.
It wasn't beyond the established procedure. The established procedure is basically that the Public Debt Department meets in the form of tender board and then makes a decision on exactly what quantum should be taken up. My involvement was restricted to the extent that I spoke to the Superintendent of Public Debt and senior officials and queried as to how we were going to meet the gap of 10 billion rupees which was needed by the following Monday. This was Friday afternoon, remember. And up to that Friday afternoon, for most of the week, we had only been able to raise a maximum of 3.5 billion rupees. So it seemed inconceivable that in the remainder of the Friday afternoon we could raise 10 billion. And that was my suggestion to the tender board. They then had every possibility of rejecting my advice. In fact, initially when they said there was 20 billion available, I said, shall we take even a larger quantity? And then they said, no, that's not feasible because, some of those bids were dummy bids, etc. And they said, when I said 10 billion, they said, okay, that's more feasible. But of course, you're right, they had initially thought they would only take 2.6. But, when I asked them the question on how we would raise that 10 billion, it was not very clear to me how we were going to do it. So we were in a bit of a quandary there. And my suggestion was go for the whole 10.
Newsfirst queried as to whether the governor had any stake in perpetual treasuries.
No, I'm sorry. That's a complete misstatement. That is complete nonsense. I have nothing to do with that company. All I know is that the sister of the former governor was the director of that company and my son-in-law. And that's as far as it's concerned. I have absolutely nothing to do with that company. I have no knowledge of its activity.
So do you deny the fact that you were directly involved with the whole bond?
I completely deny this.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that the government will take measures to provide equal facilities and resources to all school students.
Infobi 2015, an ICT exhibition organised by Vishaka Vidyalaya Colombo, was declared open today by President Maithripala Sirisena.
තාක්ෂණයෙන් අපි කොතෙක් දියුණු වුණත් අප තුල
There is no point in developing technology if the morals and values of the people are deteriorating. We need to ask ourselves, how far will the knowledge on technology be important to us? The Sri Lankan society will never be second to any other in the world. We need to be aware of the goodness and decorum in society. We need to minimize the differences in the education between the village and city children and ensure that all the resources and facilities are distributed equally among all children who will benefit from free education in the country in a just and reasonable manner. That is the aspiration of the government.
දරුවන් වෙත ලබා දීම අපි රජයක් විදිහට අපේ අපේක්ෂාව සහ බලාපොරොත්තුවයි.
Meanwhile, President Maithripala Sirisena also presided over the event to distribute equipment for the higher education of blind children in the country at the Sri Lanka Council for the Blind in Rajagiriya.
Former LTTE operative who was involved in an assassination attempt on President Maithripala Sirisena when he was the Minister of Mahal Development in Malampitepur, Narwa, was sentenced to 10 years rigorous imprisonment today.
This assassination attempt was reported during 2005 to 2006. Shivaraja Janevan, who was charged with making an attempt to assassinate Sirisena, was produced before the Polonnaruwa High Court and was thus sentenced by High Court Judge Amendra Seniviratna. The accused was also fined ₹10,000 by the High Court Judge and was ordered to serve an additional 1-year sentence if he fails to pay the fine.
Former parliamentarian Buddhika Pathirana says that candidates with good character should be elected to parliament.
An event was organised in Kamburugamuwa, Mathura today to donate high nutritious food to underweight children under the patronage of former parliamentarian Buddhika Pathirana.
Sri Lanka එක දෙකට බෙදලා ඉල්ලනවා කියන්නේ පෙරේතය පොළොවේ ගෙවුවා වගේ නිකන් මස්ත බාල්දි වෙලා නස්පුට් වෙලා යනවා. ඒක ගැන කිසි ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ.
You may have an idea on some of the candidates, but Buddhika Pathirana's past record is good, always the first. But you do not have to worry about it. Some become candidates after they are provided with nominations. I carry out my political activities thinking that I am always a candidate.
The Jayasuriya police raided a sand mine in Atugan Kotu yesterday.
Our correspondent said that the Jayasuriya police was successful in raiding the sand mine, which had been in operation for some time at a large scale in a very discreet manner. 2 backhoe loaders, 3 tipper trucks and equipment used to clean the sand were at the premises when the raid took place. 2 persons were arrested on the spot, however, they challenged the authority.
ඉතින් අපි නම් මේ හොරෙන් පටවන්නේ මොකද ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම කියනවා නම් මෙහෙමයි අපි
ඇවිල්ලා පොලිසියට ඇවිල්ලා මහත්තයත් එක්ක කතා කරන්නේ
අපිට උදව් ඕන නම් අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන් ඉහළම තැනින් ගන්නත් පුළුවන්.
Our correspondent noted that the police officers had left the premises after releasing the suspects and the equipment used for sand mining. Thereafter, our correspondent spoke to the OIC of the Jayasuriya police and informed him of this matter.
Hello? අනේ ඔයාලි මත දැන් ඒ වැලි වාහන තුනයි බැකෝ යන්ත්‍රයකුයි තියෙනව නේද?
නෑ එතන අපිට වාහන තිබ්බට බැකෝ යන්ත්‍රය ඇතුලේ බැකෝට අපි අරස් කරන්න බෑනේ.
නෑ මම විෂුවල් අරන් තියනවා මමත් ගිහිල්ලා ගත්තා විෂුවල් දැන්. ඒක එතන වැඩ කරන ඒවා ඔක්කොම මං ගාව තියෙනවා.
අද වැඩ කරාද?
ඔව්.
An hour later, our correspondent attempted to visit the location to inquire as to whether the work was taking place at the mine. But as his duties were disrupted, he arrived at the Jayasuriya police station. But when he arrived at the police station, a group of people, including the woman claiming to be the owner of the land and involved in sand mining, was seen at the police station.
නිර්දේශකෝ අනුමැතියකෝ ඔයා ඉන්නේ ඉතින් අපෙන් දැන් මං ආවේ ආගෙන තන්ට මං ආවනේ දැන් අවසර දීලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒ ලියුමකෝ ලියුම තියෙන්නේ OIC මාත්‍යා නම් අපි ආවේ OIC මාත්‍යා හම්බෙන්නේ OIC මාත්‍යා නෑ OIC මාත්‍යා එහෙම එකක් නෑ කියනවා OIC මාත්‍යා මං ඇවිල්ලා හම්බෙනවා ඔයාට ඕන ලෝකේ දැන් මේ OIC මාත්‍යා ඉන්නවා OIC මාත්‍යා ඉන්නවා.
Our correspondent had focused on the area despite the obstructions. Finally, only one of the machinery at the sand mine was taken to the police.
ඔය අදින්න ඕන දැන්.
යාළුවෝ බොනින්ද බිව්වා. එහෙම මේක බිබී ටික දවසක් බිබීද්දි යාළුවෝ බොන්න නැති වුණත් මට බොන්න ඕනේ. තාත්තා අවුරුදු 3 වගේ නැති වුණා. අම්මා කඩයක් තමයි තේ කඩයක් තමයි කරේ. ටැබ්ලට් දාලා ගෙදර ගොඩක් විශ්සු නටලා තිනවා.
මොනවද ගෙදරින් මේක කරලා කරේ?
ගෙදර එළියට බහින්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. දන්වැල් දාලා ගෙදර තිනවා. ඒත් දන්වැල් කඩාගෙන යනවා. කකුලට දන්වැල් දාලා ජනේලෙට දාලා ඉබ්බත් දාලා.
What you just saw was an excerpt of a discussion with a child who should be facing his GCE advanced level examinations. According to reports, many children island-wide are addicted to the use of dangerous intoxicants, including heroin and pills. Reports suggest that they obtain these intoxicants from places very close to their homes. We received information about a drug distribution center that provides drugs to Colombo and its suburbs and serves as a host for addicts from one of its very own customers. Accordingly, Newsfirst discreetly gathered information on this location, which is located at Samitpura in Matakulia.
If an individual is found to be in the possession of 2 grams of heroin or more, a case would be filed at the High Court and the penalty can be either life in prison or capital punishment. If an individual is found to be in the possession of less than 2 grams of heroin, a case will be filed at the magistrate's court and the suspect will be fined for the crime and sometimes can be imprisoned. A raid has not been carried out in this area of Matakulia so far this year. Based on the information you have provided, one person from this residence has been arrested on a number of occasions several years ago for charges of illegal liquor. He has not been arrested over cannabis or heroin. Based on information, the place has been looked into by the officers, but no successful arrest has been made.
A quantity placed in the front portion of the house will see a case filed at the magistrate court. If more than 2 grams are seized, a case will be filed at the High Court. But the whole stash of drugs is never seized.
Suspects act in this manner at a number of instances. When we receive more information regarding this person, that this person engaged in a drug trade to such an extent, we can detain him for 7 days.
Raids are carried out daily, but a small quantity is caught. What we say is that they use this loophole in the law to continue this trade.
We will breach these techniques and move forward.
Over the past few days, Newsfirst made revelations on a number of routes used by drug dealers to bring drugs into the country. Newsfirst has joined hands with the National Anti-Drug Drive for this purpose. Raids were carried out across the island this week, and as of yesterday, 294 grams of heroin along with 951 suspects have been arrested by police. In addition, 698 kilograms of cannabis together with 2,023 suspects have also been arrested. Over 300,000 litres of illicit alcohol have been seized during these raids. 4 suspects in connection to heroin arrested in raids that were carried out at a number of locations across the island today as well.
Well, moving on to our sports news now. The finals of the FA Cup will take place at the Premadasa Stadium at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Karu Blue Star and Colombo Football Club will battle it out for the coveted title.
And over in cricket, Sri Lanka closed play on day 1 of the third and final test on 272 runs for the loss of 8 wickets. The match is played at Pallekele International Cricket Stadium. That's all the news we have for you on Primetime News for today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Noriana Fernando.
And I'm Sandra Fernando. Do take care and good night.